No one ever sees me. I'm losing every battle. Can somebody save me? I'm losing every battle.
Hello, this is our test run, so I've noticed our sound might be glitchy. This is our introduction episode, testing all of the equipment, making sure that everything works, and also just giving you guys an idea of what this podcast is going to be, what it's going to be about, who I'm going to be bringing on, what is our purpose, why am I here? Why am I here wasting your time? Why am I here asking you to spend your valuable time? I guarantee you it's not going to be a waste of your time. When I first started this idea, when I first began talking to people about having this podcast and what needed to be out there, what messages weren't being heard, and what people wanted to be represented, I was extremely surprised. When I first started this idea, it was intended to be primarily about PTSD awareness and primarily focused on veterans and military personnel. And what I have come to recognize through my conversations with not only my own clientele, which I work with a diverse clientele, but with the public at large, is that there is a tremendous lack of understanding. There's a tremendous lack of desire or ability to talk about mental health and wellness openly, honestly, without filters, and just without the attached blame, shame, guilt, and embarrassment and judgment that just comes with this conversation. So the purpose, goal, and objective of this podcast is going to bring you the voices of amazing survivors. It's going to be bringing you the voices of amazing healers. It's going to be bringing you the voices of those who still call themselves victims. And what I mean by all of that is I'm going to bring you the voices of trauma. I'm going to bring you the voices of the entire trauma spectrum. And to begin this journey, it's really important that you understand some particulars about how my company, how my organization views trauma. Because when we talk about trauma, we use a lot of diagnoses, we use a lot of labels, and those labels have a lot of judgments attached to them. So you're going to hear people who have been diagnosed with or who suspect they have things like PTSD, CPTSD, and ASD, and a myriad of other things, anxiety, depression, all kinds of diagnoses. But for the purpose of this show and for the purpose of you understanding where I'm coming from personally with the way that I view trauma, is that trauma is a spectrum injury, and the medical and psychological industries, shall we say, are struggling really hard to define outside of the DSM, to define what exactly it means to have PTSD. What exactly does it mean to have one of these diagnoses? And unfortunately, the general viewpoint that is being promoted is that if you've been diagnosed with one of these disorders, And a lot of people still use the word disorder instead of injury. And I feel like there's a lot of big discussion that we will have with each of my guests as we go through this. But I wanted you to have a standpoint right as we get started, that we do not talk about PTSD in this forum for our purposes as a life sentence. It doesn't mean you cannot get better. It doesn't mean healing isn't possible. Though the medical community currently takes the standpoint that there is no cure for any of these conditions, we take the standpoint that you can always do better. Every single day, in every single way, you can live a more comfortable life. You can work with symptoms. You can work with coping mechanisms. There are many, many, many options for people to improve their quality of life. So I do not advocate for anyone saying you can cure PTSD. I've heard that a few times from practitioners that I know who do alternative methodologies. And whilst I haven't seen the evidence to say whether it's true or not, but the current medical and psychological community does not agree that any of these conditions can be cured all the way. So that is the first important point, is that you will never hear me say in any way that I can cure PTSD or any of these other related trauma spectrum injuries that have a label and a diagnosis. Even though I believe that trauma is a spectrum injury, a multi-layered spectrum injury, and we all in some way, shape, or form are on that spectrum. So that is the most important first point, is that there are many, many ways that I want to bring forward to you that you can keep your life more in your control and that you can have better results than you may be having now if you're suffering from these things. But I will not have guests on here who are going to tell you, I can absolutely cure your PTSD in one session and you'll never have to worry about it again. So you don't have to worry about that. I will make every effort to make sure that the guests I have on here are as credible as possible. It's very challenging to do that and make sure that because this is a live show and I completely allow everyone to say and do whatever it is they want to express, I want to caveat that with that being said, I may not agree, or my organization may not agree with everything and everyone that we have on here. So that is also a really important thing, though. We don't all see things the same way. And what I want to provide you with is options. What I want to provide you with is hope. What I want to provide you with is the ability to seek out your own answers and take responsibility and control of your healing pathway. So I want to give you lots and lots of people who have lots and lots of ideas. And you can choose what resonates with you and what stories sound like yours and what lifestyle changes work with the lifestyle that you live. So this is about getting information out that isn't often heard. It's about opening the conversation and not being afraid to challenge the general helplessness, the general death sentence-like structure that we're putting out there now with this. We just tell people they have a diagnosis, and in so many cases, then we walk away. In so many cases, services aren't available to make life better or easier. Or if services are available, they're not frequent enough, they're not supportive enough, or people just fall through the cracks. I have already, in the first week of interviews, I've already spoken to so many people that just fall through the cracks. And that is something that we just can't continue. So this podcast was initially going to be about PTSD and military personnel and veterans care. And it's still going to be very much about those things because it's a topic that doesn't get talked about enough. It's a topic that doesn't have enough support, and it's a topic that we just can't stop talking about. But it's also going to be about police officers and their fight with PTSD and trauma spectrum injuries. The stress that that job puts on them, the life changes, the adapting, the coping skills, the stories of survival, the stories of suicide. We're not going to look away. We're here to bring a voice to those who are not being heard. So we're going to be here for our military, our veterans, our police officers, our firefighters. Imagine that lifestyle. Imagine that stress. Imagine knowing when you go to work that you may never be coming home. How many times have you thought about the health and well-being, mental and physical, of your first responders, of your EMTs, of your nurses, of your doctors? That's what this show is about. That's what this show is for. To represent the voices of trauma, to represent the stories of trauma, to bring to you hope and healing resources. We are also going to be talking a lot with victims of human trafficking and their rescuers, with those people on both sides of that industry. The challenges, the stories, the happiness and the heartbreak, all of it. And we're not going to filter any of these conversations. So I will always give you a heads up of what our topic is for the day and what kinds of triggering topic details may come up. So know if you are someone who has your own severe traumas and some of these conversations may be too difficult for you, I will give you a little bit of a warning and a heads up at the beginning of the show what our topic will be, what our guest will be bringing to the table, and give you the choice to take the space that you need to ensure that you maintain your health and well-being. This show is for you. So I want to make sure that even though we're bringing things out into the open, that we're never bringing them out into the open in a way that causes additional stress for those suffering. We are going to be talking to victims of domestic violence. We are going to be talking to victims of childhood sexual abuse, neglect. We're going to be talking to survivors of religious abuse. And these are just the guests that I already know of at this point in time that I've already spoken to. So ultimately what's going to happen with this show is something I don't know. It has taken already on a life of its own. It has taken already on a path of its own. The voices that are coming forward, the voices that want to be heard, are very diverse. But what they all have in common is their position on the trauma spectrum. We all reside on the trauma spectrum somewhere. And all of our speakers can come to us on the common ground of this phenomena. So that is the theme, the format, the objective of this show. We are all going to be talking in one way, shape, or form from a position on that trauma spectrum. Some will be messages of hope and healing. Some will be messages of awareness of situations that are still active and occurring. Some of it will be outreach awareness of an event coming up, of a cause that our guest is advocating for. Because the more traction we can give this conversation, the more traction and awareness we can give to the widespread phenomenon of trauma, the more healing that can happen, the more openness we can look at this with, the more honesty we can give to ourselves and to others, and the more we can take this damn stigma off of having a conversation about mental health and well-being. Why are we so afraid to admit that we have suffered trauma in our lives? Why are we so embarrassed and ashamed to come forward and speak our truth and allow ourselves to be seen and to be heard and to be accepted, which allows healing to begin happening? Why do we live in a society that is so challenged by the idea that we're not all perfect, Instagram filtered people? That the life that we put out into the public with all of those beautiful backgrounds and extra makeup and glorious soundtracks behind them, that is not reality. That is not who we are. That is not our experience. Why do we pretend every day to be something we're not? That is what this show is about. This show is about bringing to the surface the real lives, the real experiences, the real healing journeys, the real resources that you all need, and the connection that we all strive for in life. These people who are willing to come here and shed their skin and be vulnerable and beautiful in front of you. They're taking a risk, and they're being so brave. And all they want is to be a part of this world every day, seen, heard, and recognized as equal human beings, not as broken human beings, not as castaway human beings, not the lost and forgotten human beings, but as equal, valuable, worthy human beings, deserving of the happiness that everyone seeks. And you out there listening, you who says, I don't have any trauma, I'm fine. Or you who says, I've been through a lot, but I'm not going to stand up. Or you who just happens to be listening right now. You can make a difference for every single one of my guests. You can make a difference for every single one of the people in your life. This show is also about showing you that even the most basic individual can change the world. That we have the capacity and the ability, when we stand up, when we use our voices, and when we are fired up and passionate. You have to want to become something fantastic. You have to want to contribute something more to the world. You can go to work every day. You can go home and take care of your family. You can have your perfect little world. That's fine. Even that is affecting the world in a positive way. Or you can choose to do more, be more, affect more, instigate change. Even the tiniest ways. Do you have a charity that you contribute to? Do you do something actively in your community? It can be super small. Read books with children. Take pets for a walk at the animal shelter. Spend some time volunteering at your local women's shelter. Help advertise or share posts from one of your local community fundraising activities. Notice what's happening in your community that's helping people you care about, that's a cause that you care about. And no matter how big or small it is, get active. It doesn't have to be about money. It can be about time. It can be about energy. It can simply be sharing posts on Facebook. It can simply be helping set up a website. It can be purchasing a t-shirt. Anything that you do will help. We all can help. So I want to break you all free of that's too big of a problem. I can't really do anything about that. I want to break you all free of thinking that just because it's big or just because it doesn't affect you, that you can't fix it, that you can't make it better. Because the key is crowdsourcing. The key is crowdfunding. The key is it's not about how big of a ripple one person makes. It's how big of a ripple one person makes when they inspire another person and another person and another person. It's about creating tidal waves from raindrops. So know that no matter how small you feel like your contribution is, it matters. No matter how small you think your trauma is, it matters. We all live on the spectrum somewhere. Everything this show is going to bring you will have useful nuggets for all of you. There is something for everyone here. If you are willing to open your heart, your mind, and your ears to hear it. So, that being said, this is my first crazy hello episode. I know it didn't go quite as planned, but I'm not that worried about it. So I hope that you are excited to see the first guest come on. I believe I will be dropping these episodes twice a week, hopefully, as if all goes well, on Saturdays and on Thursdays. They will be available on the YouTube channel. For now, I will also be posting them on my personal Facebook page, and I will be posting them on the Battle to Beat Facebook page, which is my trauma program, my grassroots trauma program. I will be doing many of these episodes not from the office. Many of these episodes will actually be happening on location at trauma awareness events that I will be partaking in with the G Phoenix. She's pretty amazing. So you'll be seeing me out at health and wellness fairs, at concerts, at any community organization event where people will be there to hear the message. So watch for our business cards, our flyers, all the new stuff coming out. We now have a line of products and clothing that supports our trauma resources for all of those folks that I talked about earlier. So if you support this cause and you're really excited, you can see on my Facebook a number of different ways that you can support this program. I am super excited again to get you guys the stories of these amazing people. And you are worthy. You are limitless. You are unstoppable. And the hardest part, I know, is you are enough. You have always been enough. You just have to believe it for yourself. Rise, Phoenix, rise out of the ashes of your experiences and live your life on fire. My name is Krista Fee. I am a master transformational coach, for Sahara Rising and Battle to Be. I cannot wait to speak to you guys again. I love you. No one has to walk alone.